Going over the Anthem news over the past couple of days, we've got a bit of information. We have a live stream that's happening tomorrow, a potential patch that could be happening end of this week / start of next. We can go over what that patch will include, quickly looking over the store, and then also some pretty cool stuff happening with the monument yet again, which no doubt people will explain to me that it was happening at launch and it's nothing new, but apparently it actually is. My name is Ryan Central, you can subscribe for more Anthem content. In regards to the future of this channel and other content, I'm going to talk about that some other time later this week. But generally, we're going to keep doing Anthem content, but there will be a few changes. Anthem tweeted yesterday, join Dorocus and a special guest this Wednesday at 1 PM PT, 3 PM CT, which will be about 9 PM British time, 10 PM European, as they show some new content and talk about the next update coming to Anthem game. Tune in to watch on Twitch or Mixer. And Jesse also replies to a comment saying that they're going to be talking about the next update. The last update was 1.0.3, this one's 1.0.4, which is what you're able to play right now. And we have a good amount of information on what is actually going to be in it. What this usually means is that there's going to be a patch fairly soon after this live stream. They've done it before, they'll do it again just to hold, oh hey, this is what's going to be in the patch. This will be going live sometime this week or early next week. And I think the two dates that people should be looking at is this Friday, the 22nd of March, 1 month literally from the launch of the game, or next week, Tuesday the 26th. So I do think we're going to see this patch within a week of this video, so sometime soon. But now let's go over what's going to actually be in that patch. The main things that we're going to be going over are the legendary missions and the Elysian caches. Relive the adventure, jump back into story missions with increased difficulty and better loot. 4 missions will be available in phase 1, and these will most likely be the first 4 missions in the game, so that'd be a Lost Arcanist, what freelancers do, I think, Incursion potentially, which in reality is a really good mission and I can't wait to play some of these on higher difficulties, and one other one which I can't really remember what it is. And then we have Elysian caches, which I'm very excited to hear the explanation on how these are going to work. We can see exactly how they look in this picture, but unlock the thunder, obtain keys by completing daily challenges, use your keys to unlock Elysian caches at the end of strongholds for vanity rewards. It's going to be nice to have an incentive to sort of go into game at the moment that isn't just trying to get better gear. I know there's a big cynical approach for a lot of stuff in Anthem currently, but I do think that both of these are going to add to replayability in the game. Some of the early missions in Anthem were really good. I remember Angry Joe saying that the first hour of playing Anthem for him was really positive, and obviously the rest wasn't, but you get the point that the start of Anthem, the first few missions, are in fact a lot of fun. So being able to play these specific things on higher difficulties might be A, a lot of fun, spice things up, B, drop a good amount of loot on its own because of the new drop rate changes, who really knows. C, it might give us specific masterworks at the end of these, much like we get guaranteed components at the end of contracts and guaranteed abilities at the end of strongholds. Maybe we get guaranteed weapons for doing legendary missions, but also for there might also be other incentives to do it. So yes, this isn't going to fix the game, these changes. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot with future changes coming in, but legendary missions I think will be a lot of fun. How long they're going to be fun for remains to be seen. And Elysian caches, doing daily challenges to get loot at the end of strongholds. With any luck, they're more effective than we may think. Not only that, we have the power scaling changes coming in. Jesse said on Reddit that they've checked with the team and the fixes to scaling will be coming in the next game update. But that's all of the stuff that we know, at least at this point. There's bound to be even more bug fixes or changes to weapons and abilities. The scaling changes that they added in the last patch were significant in what they did to the game and how they changed playing with ultimates and melees and combos. It made them a lot stronger, so maybe they're going to buff weapons and abilities to put them on par, and just in general everything in the game should feel a lot more balanced, because right now when it comes to gearing up and preparing for GM2 and GM3, whilst having a god roll weapon is important, for the most part it comes down to you exploiting ultimates or melee abilities or combos, stuff that your gear score level greatly affects, you know. So I hope that they up some of the damage in other areas to make it feel a little bit more legitimate, because I wanted to do a video, and I still kind of plan to do a video on how to get into GM2 and GM3 if you haven't already, what to really do to try and prepare for that. But to be honest, at the moment it just feels kind of cheap, which is unfortunate. As I said, the state of the game, I'm going to talk about that later this week. As I was recording this video, Casey Hudson put out a Bioware dev update, I suppose, talking about the state of the game. It reads, how's everybody doing out there? It's been a wild ride these past few weeks. Actually, I'm not going to read through it all, I'm just kidding, because it's a very generic sort of response coming out of the general manager. There's quite a lot of nice stuff in here if you want to read it, but to just sort of take a few choice words. delivering over 200 improvements through patches and live updates, so bug fixes and the like. They launched with a degree of issues that did not reveal themselves until we were operating at the scale of millions of players. We listened to your feedback, with more improvements to endgame loot and progression, game flow and stability and performance coming soon. There's a lot more work that we intend to do. We understand there is skepticism out there. This bit's interesting. We hear the criticisms and doubts, but we'll keep going anyway, working hard every day on Anthem, an ever-changing world, constantly improving and growing, and supported well into the future by our teams of passionate developers. Going against sort of general reception, I do think that Anthem has made and is making a lot of money for BioWare and EA. I think, you know, on Reddit and YouTube, the game has got a negative reputation at this point now, even with people like me in the community, you know, kind of going, yeah, this isn't great. But I think for those that don't use Reddit and YouTube that just go out, buy and play the game, I do think that Anthem has performed just as well, if not better, just because of the marketing stuff that they've put out in the world. That's kind of the optimist in me talking, but I don't think that EA are going to pull the plug anytime soon. And it seems that this has been echoed here too. So just to be clear, I don't mean that Anthem is a good game by any stretch. Of course, there's a lot of issues that need fixing. But I do believe that the game sold better than people may have been expecting. Just because it was a bad game at launch doesn't necessarily mean that it also sold badly. The only real interesting thing to come out of this dev update was this picture. Now, we don't know where it is. I did see that Jesse tweeted as well saying, new image in Casey's blog, wondering what it could be, thinking emoji. And this has certainly got me thinking. So we know that there are a few things coming up. We have the new Stronghold, the Sunken, we have the Cataclysm that's coming out in May, and this looks like something Dominion focused. In response to that tweet, I saw a friend of ours, Anthem Insider, say Strollheim, which is where the Dominion reside in the north. But I would definitely say that this isn't the Sunken, you know, because that is a almost, I believe, underwater stronghold. This isn't underwater, this is very Dominion focused. So it could be the Cataclysm, it could be a new area in the world, it could be a new mission, but it's nice to see that new stuff is being planned and we're going to get it soon with any luck. I know people are saying, oh, it's 3 months until the Cataclysm, but we're already 1 month through the process, so the next couple of months are going to be difficult for Anthem. I just hope that the next amount of content is going to help. But considering that we just went over the stuff in the patch, such as the legendary contracts and caches, that should help, but we need some more endgame content to get our hands into. Otherwise, more people are going to move over to the Division, because that seems to have got all of its things in order. Now I wanted to highlight the stall for the next 3 days, and the news isn't good. It's armor packs that we've seen before in the past, the Seeker Storm and the Guardian Ranger pack. We have a couple new emotes. The Sleep and the Teleport one does look pretty cool, to be honest. Gun on Shoot is a rerun, and the graphics look okay, but not great. Considering we were expecting the Scar, Interceptor and Colossus skins, this is very disappointing, and as you can imagine, lots of people are kind of frustrated. But again, we do have the Elysian caches coming in with hopefully more armor packs. If there aren't armor packs in the caches, then I think that's a big problem for BioWare, and I think a lot of people are going to be quite annoyed at them, because people want to spend actual physical money to get new armor packs. They've been running the same stuff since launch, so there's no doubt that a month later people are frustrated with the cosmetics that you can actually get. Not saying I necessarily agree, I think people might be taking it a bit too far, but I do understand where that frustration is coming from. Now I want to talk about the monument. This is something that we've spoken about previously in the video. It's a massive Shaper relic in the game that can be found towards the end of the map. You've seen it on screen. We've highlighted in the past how it started moving, how there's been electrical charges coming from it. People in the past have said, oh yeah, this has been going since launch, but something that is seemingly brand new, according to people on Reddit and sort of experiencing it myself, is that the monument has started singing. I'll let you listen for yourself. This came up on 2 Reddit posts at the same time, sort of highlighting this, so I can't really take credit for finding it, but it is pretty eerie, and considering that I've been to the monument a couple of times to check out stuff for videos and I've not heard this before, I would agree that it seems to be new, but no doubt somebody in the comments is going to say, actually no, this was at launch, I experienced it myself, much like they have on Reddit. I swear the whole monument could be on fire and explode or whatever, and people say, yeah, it's been like that since launch. But I'm really excited to see if that develops into stuff. The developers have already spoken in the past saying that a lot of in-world events events are going to be like the stuff in Fortnite, like the iceberg and the big cube or whatever the hell it is. So it wouldn't surprise me if this devolves into something to do with a cataclysm or big world event, you know, so that's exciting. But now I want to go over some other responses to how loot basically works in the game, because there's been a lot of tinfoil hat theories coming out, which have all been quelled. There were a couple of threads over the weekend sort of highlighting tinfoil theories, to be honest, on having a higher gear score would increase your drop rate of masterworks and legendaries, playing at a certain time would increase your drop rate too. Brendan Holmes came in to sort of clear up some stuff. This came from the first thread that we're highlighting, the drop rates change over time. The user Harry Hunter says that playing at a specific time in the day yielded him more legendaries and masterworks in comparison to another time. Brendan Holmes says that drop rates are fixed and do not change over time. You have the same percentage chance to roll a masterwork or a legendary on a drop no matter what activity that you're doing, no matter how long you've been doing it for. Somebody asked, how can you be sure? How did you know this? Brendan gave us some answers. He looked at the logic. There's no influence from power level on drop rate, and drop rate is influenced by 3 factors: difficulty, luck, and enemy type. They've also had some QA testers run some tests. They've had a loot simulator that simulates loot drops using game logic. So they looked at tens of thousands of samples, and we looked at the telemetry data from the live game. Somebody brought up another thread saying that loot rarity is tied to your power level and it still needs buffed. Kind of going over the higher your gear that you're wearing, your gear score, the better loot that drops. Brendan says that this isn't the case, power level has no effect on the loot drop chance. If I had to guess, people might be killing stuff more quickly as they gain power, would result in more loot drops. Now, I do believe that both of these Reddit threads did get to the top of the subreddit, people sort of calling it out, saying that BioWare, this is a joke, this shouldn't be happening. Most people just sort of believe in both of these threads at face level because they have some small sample tests. Whilst I do understand that this kind of stuff is likely to happen in BioWare and Anthem at this point, because so much other stupid shit has happened as well, I feel that people are now just kind of going with a lot of theories that come up at the moment because people like to pick up their pitchforks a little bit. Granted, some of the loot changes in the past have been frustrating to say the least, I get that, but in this specific case I don't like the fact that Reddit threads that are a small sample size at least of those particular theories, people are sort of taking as gospel and true. But it is nice that the devs are sort of quickly getting around and going, no, this isn't the case, this doesn't have an effect on it, which I think is important. So the only things that do affect loot drop rate are the difficulty that you're playing on, the enemy type, and also the luck that you have on gear. Speaking of which, a lot of people have been saying that luck should be removed from the game, and I agree. I think I've been saying this from day one. I would like to have stats on my gear that are either separated, so you have primary stats which increase your damage, reduce your cooldown, all have an effect on how much damage you do, and then secondary stats are like the ammo reserves that you have, your harvest builds, your luck builds, keeping those stats separate instead of them all sharing the same loot pool. But that's everything that I wanted to talk about with Anthem today, to be honest. As I said, on Friday I want to do a video talking about the state of Anthem, really, and the plans that I have going forward. A lot of people are asking me to do Division 2 content, but in short, I'm enjoying it. I'm playing it at the moment, but I'm not going to play it just for the sake of doing content on it, you know. I really want to see if I enjoy this game, and I really, to be honest, need to learn a lot more about it. So if I'm going to make content on it, I want it to be really good, instead of rushing and doing the same old, you know, stuff that everybody else is doing. But I'm looking into it. I'm playing it with my girlfriend. It's a lot of fun. And there's so much more to do in that game than Anthem currently. But right now, I like focusing on Anthem. But again, we'll talk about that on Friday and what I'd change about the game, the problems that I have, etc, etc. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.